There comes a moment in a man's life, usually after the age of 50, when his body begins to whisper things it once shouted with pride. A desire that no longer reacts the same. An erection that takes longer to arrive, or simply doesn't show up at all. But the most frustrating part isn't the dysfunction itself. It's not understanding why. Not knowing if it's age, stress, testosterone, blood pressure, or all of the above. Many men stay silent. Others resign themselves. Some turn to blue pills that promise instant hardness, but leave behind side effects no one talks about out loud. But there's something more. Something that happens silently in the early hours of the day. A biological moment that, if you know how to take advantage of it, can give back to your body what you thought was lost. And this is where the morning trick comes in. A habit so simple most men completely overlook it, yet it holds one of the most powerful keys to activating your natural virility in less than 20 minutes. It's not a pill. It's not an intense workout. And it's not a sexual technique. It's something even more basic and much older. A practice that balances your nitric oxide levels and free testosterone right at the moment your body is most receptive. The problem is, almost no one knows this. Because men focus on what happens during sex, and not on what occurs before even thinking about having an erection. But if you're someone who wants to feel that spontaneous hardness again, that firm reaction from just a touch, you need to pay attention to the first moment of the day. Because in those early hours, your body decides whether you'll have power or frustration. And the trick, though it sounds simple, is a very specific combination. First, activate a part of your nervous system called the parasympathetic branch, responsible for relaxing blood vessels and allowing proper flow to the penis. Second, stimulate the morning production of L-arginine, an amino acid your body needs to synthesize nitric oxide. And third, shut down a hormone that ruins your mornings without you knowing it, prolactin. Now then, how do you do all of this in less than 15 minutes after waking up? Here's where it gets most impressive. There's a trick that functional doctors in Europe have recently started recommending to their patients over 60. A protocol that seems too simple to be true, but whose results have been so striking that it's even being studied in clinics specializing in male health. And no, it has nothing to do with aphrodisiac foods or weird juices. In fact, the most powerful part happens before you even eat breakfast. It all starts with a glass. Yes, a glass. But not with regular water, rather with a precise mix of ingredients that, once they hit your stomach on an empty stomach, trigger an immediate hormonal shift. The first thing you'll feel is a subtle warmth in your lower abdomen. Then, a sense of unusual energy, almost like you've awakened a part of yourself that's been asleep for years. But it's not magic. It's pure physiology. And when you combine it with the second step, which I'll explain in just a moment, the result is so noticeable that you might even wake up with an erection you haven't had since your 30s. But if that trick isn't accompanied by consistency, everything falls apart. And this is where the second step comes into play. Because there's something almost no man takes into account. The quality of your blood flow doesn't depend solely on the heart. It also depends on the condition of your cavernous arteries and the level of silent inflammation in your body. And yes, I know, you've probably been told this can be fixed with exercise and diet, but that's no longer enough after 50. You need something more precise, more surgical. A natural compound that's been studied in German integrative medicine clinics for its ability to reduce inflammation in erectile tissues in older men. I'm talking about fermented pomegranate extract in microdoses. Why fermented? Because fermentation not only enhances the fruit's natural antioxidants, it also releases specific phenolic acids that penetrate inflamed tissues, including the cavernous bodies of the penis. These tissues, over the years, begin to harden, becoming less elastic, less responsive to the signals that generate an erection. And this happens even if you feel desire, even if you have a partner, even if you take pills. Because when the endothelial cells are inflamed, the blood simply doesn't flow. But when you introduce microdoses of fermented polyphenol every morning, something changes. And I'm not just talking about a physical change. I'm talking about a silent recovery that you notice in the details. Like when you start waking up again with that sensation you thought was lost. That involuntary morning erection that for years was your internal gauge of virility. It's what urologists call a restored nocturnal penile reflex. And it's much more than an erotic signal. It's a sign that your body has started to heal from within. It's your sympathetic nervous system regaining control. It's your endogenous testosterone responding, without outside help. But it doesn't end there. There's a third phase, and it may be the deepest of all. Because what many men don't know is that an erection doesn't just happen in the body, it also happens in the mind. And specifically, in a very particular area of the brain, the paraventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus. This neurological center is what activates sexual impulses, but it's also directly influenced by your dopamine levels, your self-esteem, and the quality of your morning habits. That's why what you do in the first hour of the day can literally build or destroy your sexual energy. When you do this trick upon waking, I'm referring to immediate contact with cold water, dopamine fasting, and physical activation without direct sexual stimulus. What you're really doing is retraining your brain not to depend on images, screens, or fantasies, but on your internal energy. And that changes everything. Because you stop chasing pleasure and start generating attraction. Your body no longer seeks external reward. It becomes the source. And then something happens that no drug can replicate. You start to feel masculine, even before feeling desire. That's the real key. It's not about lasting longer in bed. It's about reclaiming that state where you simply know you can. Where there's no fear of failure, because your body and mind are aligned. Because you no longer depend on anything or anyone. And yes, this is noticeable. Women notice it. Not because you tell them you take this or that supplement, but because there's an energy in you that doesn't need to be explained. It's a presence, a firmness, a calm determination, a way of looking and holding the gaze, of speaking and not over-explaining, because your body emits signals, biochemical, instinctive, and when those signals change, they react. And that reaction isn't always explicit. Sometimes it's a greater closeness. Sometimes it's a different kind of smile, or a more intimate conversation without you forcing it. That happens when your biology starts working in your favor. And all of that, I repeat, can begin with a simple decision to change the first hour of your day, to stop acting like you're weak, and to start treating yourself as if your virility is alive, even if it's just asleep. So tell me, are you going to keep waiting for something to change on its own? Or are you going to take control of your body, your energy, and your life? Write to me below. Tell me how you live your mornings, and if you're ready to take that step. Because if you decide to, I'll be here to guide you. Subscribe, because the best is yet to come, and your body deserves it.